Good afternoon. Police are investigating the discovery of possible human remains in Scarborough.
The remains were located at the back of an industrial plaza yesterday evening. CTV Sean Leathong has been following this investigation. He joins us live now with the latest. Sean.
Well, Michelle and Andy, it was just before 6 o'clock yesterday when the discovery was made in the rear or near a business at 2010 Ellesmere Road. Now, we do have some video that we acquired within the last hour or so, and I want to show you this where police just a little while ago were actually seen loading up a rather large item that seemed to be covered in a tarp. They put that in the back of a truck. That was just after 11 o'clock this morning. Now, once the item was actually packed into the truck drove off and was followed by a police car. Now, I say this because as we go back to when this happened yesterday evening, there was the report of a possible discovery of human remains, but police have not confirmed that at this time. They've only called it a suspicious incident. Now, much of this area has been taped off ever since that time, so we're well north of 12 hours since that actual discovery has been made, and police have been investigating since that time, but not being specific on just what it is they are investigating. Now, this industrial plaza here at 2010 Ellesmere Road has a number of businesses, and this morning our colleagues at CP24 actually caught up with one of the people who was trying to attend his work today that seems to not be involved in this investigation but still remains roped off, and here's what he had to say.
Don't know right now. They're not giving any information on what's going on. It's just that you're not allowed to go into the building. Nobody can access anything. For us, it's a lot of money lost here today.
Yeah, you can't get to work.
Can't get to work. Nobody notify us anything about what's going on. No information has been passed around. So for us today, it's a lost cause.
Now, police had said they won't be giving any more information unless this is upgraded to, say, a homicide or something criminal. But at this point, they're not even saying if there have been human remains found in the area here, only that it may have been. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. Andrew, Michelle, send it back to you.
Thank you, Sean. Peel police have arrested 3 adults and 2 young people in connection with a double murder in Brampton on Friday, April 3rd. Police responded to a shooting in the grounds of a school near Rutherford and Kennedy Roads. When they arrived, they found a man suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. A short distance away near Weybridge Trail, officers also found a boy with a gunshot wound. Both victims died as a result of their injuries. 21-year-old Janoy Bell is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. 25-year-old McCaim Aarons and 23-year-old Jaden Christoma are both facing lesser charges in connection with the killings. Meanwhile, 2 17-year-olds who cannot be identified are each facing 2 counts of first-degree murder.
A motorcyclist is dead following a crash in Vaughan late last night. This crash happened around 11 in the area of Weston and Rutherford Road. York Regional Police say the motorcyclist was a man in his 30s. The driver of the other car remained at the scene. The circumstances leading up to this crash are under investigation.
1 person has been taken to hospital following a house fire in Mississauga. Flames broke out at a home on Garden View Crescent near Winston Churchill and Britannia just after 1 a.m. The home was evacuated and neighboring residences were also cleared as a precaution. 1 person was taken to a local trauma center to be treated for smoke inhalation. The cause of the fire is still being investigated.
And an investigation continues today following a fire at a downtown adult nightclub. Fire crews were called to the Zanzibar Tavern on Yonge just after 6 a.m. yesterday. They doused the building from inside as well as on the roof. Fire Chief Jim Jessup provided an update yesterday afternoon saying the building suffered significant damage, but things could have been worse.
There has been a partial collapse for sure of this building from the top, so we were not on the roof. We were on the roof of the adjoining building. And again, the incident commander that pulled the firefighters off that roof as soon as they received reports that it was compromised, absolutely made the right call, because shortly thereafter, portions of the roof did collapse. So there is substantive damage to portions of this building. And of course, that is why Toronto Building Department has been on site. Their senior inspectors on site. And as I said, the chief building official and I have been in contact.
Toronto Fire says there's been nothing to indicate this fire was deliberately set. Durham police are investigating after several vehicles caught fire in Oshawa. The CTV News chopper was over the scene near Wellington Avenue and Nelson Street. Officers called to the area around 6 a.m. and they found several burned out vehicles. No injuries reported here. An investigation into the cause of this fire is underway.
Police in Kawartha Lakes are continuing their search for a missing pilot after a damaged plane was located late last night. Durham police say the plane and debris was located in the Queen Elizabeth Provincial Park. The search for the pilot, who police have only identified as 73-year-old man named David, is still ongoing. They have not confirmed if the plane and wreckage is David's plane. He is an experienced pilot who took off from Oshawa Airport around 8:30 a.m. on Friday, but never returned.
Still to come, good news in the fight against wildfires in British Columbia. We'll have more on some evacuees beginning to return home. That's a little later in the newscast. Starting today, Ontario is requiring cash deposits for people who are granted bail. It's a change from the previous system where money was not required to change hands unless it was forfeited following a breach of conditions. The government says the cash deposit in the full amount will be required within 2 business days of an accused person being released from custody. The Canadian Civil Liberties Association and Criminal Lawyers Association say cash bail creates, quote, 2 tiers of justice, and they plan to launch a constitutional challenge. CTV's Renee Rogers has been following this story. She joins us live now with the latest. And certainly we know with bail, there's been so much criticism saying that the system is broken, people reoffending, getting involved in crimes while they're out, while they're out on bail. So talk to us about this latest change and what it means.
Right. The criticism is often phrased as the revolving door bail system, not only for here in Ontario, but really provinces across Canada. And that is a phrase that critics use for when repeat violent offenders are arrested, they are then released on bail only to then go and re-offend. Toronto's Police Chief Myron Demkiw has been quite vocal about that criticism as well. So there are new measures kicking in today aimed at strengthening bail in Ontario by improving accountability and ensuring compliance. And the big change is mandatory cash bail. So under the previous system, the way it worked was that an accused person granted bail would only have to pay if they breached their bail conditions. Well, now they will have to pay their entire bail amount up front as a cash security deposit, and they'll be given 2 business days to pay it from their release. Now, it would be returned to them when the case is closed, as long as they have stuck to those bail conditions. There are a couple of other changes as well, more aggressive tools to recover bail debts, as well as more information required from sureties. These are the people who promise to make sure that an accused person follows their bail requirements. And advocates really hoping that these changes will give the justice system more power, more teeth to be able to keep these repeat offenders behind bars.
Now, Renee, whenever something like this happens, not everyone is happy, of course. What are the potential challenges to the law?
That's right. So specifically when it comes to the introduction of mandatory cash bail. So both the Canadian Civil Liberties Association and the Criminal Lawyers Associations are calling this unjust and unconstitutional. Not only that, but they plan to file a court challenge against this, a constitutional challenge this week. So what they're arguing is that under Canada's criminal code, judges already have this power to be able to require a bail deposit if they deem it necessary. And we actually spoke with one criminal defense lawyer who completely agrees, and he says he thinks this challenge will be successful. Take a listen.
The provincial government does not have jurisdiction over criminal law like the federal government. So there's going to be a conflict between the federal system and what the province is trying to do here. So my concern is that this is unconstitutional. I think the challenges will be successful. There is clearly a jurisdictional issue here. This is within the purview of the federal government. And the other thing which is a bit odd is the justices of the peace, or judges who preside over bail hearings, always have the ability to require a cash bail. And that does happen in many cases.
Okay, so nothing is solved at this point. So today's the day, of course, where you're going to have to pay money if you want to get out on bail, but it remains to be seen what's going to happen, Renee.
That's right. And these two groups here are both saying that this creates two tiers of justice, one for the rich, one for everybody else. So ultimately, it's going to have to be up to a court to decide.
CTV's Renee Rogers live for us. Thank you. Thanks for stopping by.
Mayoral candidate Brad Bradford is calling for mandatory addiction.
I'm talking about the most serious cases where addiction becomes so severe that an individual lacks the capacity and the wherewithal to seek the life-saving treatment that they desperately require. It's not a compassionate response from the city to abandon them without the resources and the pathway necessary to get treatment.
Meanwhile, Mike Layton is running to return to City Council after stepping away 4 years ago. Layton will be running to become councillor for Ward 11, University Rosedale. In an online post, Layton says he stepped back from council to spend more time with his family, but that the upcoming vote represents a chance to elect a progressive city council. Layton will be trying to unseat incumbent Councillor Diane Sachs. Layton is the stepson of Mayor Olivia Chow and the son of the late NDP leader Jack Layton.
Toronto Public Health is investigating an outbreak of Legionnaire's disease in the area of Bathurst and DuPont. TPH says 6 cases have been identified since July 2nd in a roughly 1 kilometer radius of that intersection. Most recently, someone became symptomatic on July 26th. Investigators are working to find the course of the bacteria as well as trying to determine if cases are connected to another outbreak at a long-term care home in the area.
A note for subway riders, there's an early nightly closure to be aware of this week. Starting at midnight, trains will stop running on the TTC's Line 1 between Lawrence West and St. George stations. Regular service will resume each morning at 6 a.m. The overnight closures will be in place through Friday. The TTC says it's a result of planned track work. Shuttle buses will be replacing trains during the closures. Well, more news in a moment. First, here's a live look at the city this afternoon, and Lindsay Morrison joins us now. And Lindsay, we really couldn't complain about the weekend. We may have had a few spots of rain here and there. I was on a boat ride on Friday, and it poured. It poured, but you know, we just powered through. We got to where we were going, and then we turned around, and we had more rain. But you know what? It's when the sun comes back out, you dry pretty quickly on a boat.
It's been one of those summers, Andrea, for sure, where we've had extreme heat, we've had torrential downpours associated with thunderstorms, and of course we had wildfire smoke a little earlier in the season too. Today we really don't have any of those things. We had a little bit of active weather very early this morning, spotty showers, but now we look to enjoy a sun-cloud mix. Varying amounts of sun and cloud, but overall pleasant and quiet. Bit of a breezy northwest wind today. That's going to keep a couple of lakeshore communities a little cooler around Georgian Bay and Lake Huron. This hour at Pearson Airport, it is 24 degrees. There is a mugginess, though. It feels like 29 right now, and at the height of the day, we expect that it will feel more like 33 out there. Forecast high 28 degrees with a bit of cloud in the mix. We are at a 7 today on the UV index, and the next couple of days look pretty good, but coming up, we'll give you an idea of when the next round of rain looks to move in. Hopefully you're not on a boat this time, Andrea. I'll send it back
Lindsay.
to you.
Well, the annual rate of inflation rose to 3% in July, largely due to higher gas prices. Inflation had dropped to 2.8% in June, and the U.S. and Iran worked toward a peace agreement in their ongoing war. However, renewed fighting last month pushed global fuel prices up again. Statistics Canada says consumers also spent more on airfare and travel tours, but there was some relief at the grocery store. Food prices increased by 3.1% in July, down from 3.9% in June. Okay, CTV Scott Hurst has been following the story and joins us live now with more. Scott, inflation up a bit this morning. Where are we seeing those increased costs for Canadians? I know a lot of people say, I know where, but where are you seeing it?
Good afternoon. Really, with this acceleration in the consumer price index, as you mentioned, the inflation rate rising to 3% in July, up from 2.8% in June. That takes us to the upper range of the Bank Bank of Canada's comfort zone when it comes to inflation, really liking to see it in the 2% range. And this is the last set of inflation data before the bank's next interest rate announcement on September 2nd. And really, it's been volatility at the gas pump. And anyone who's had to fill up a gas tank recently could see this coming. According to Stats Canada, gas prices up some 25% year over year. And as you mentioned, the conflict in the Middle East, including the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, continuing to put that upward pressure on gas prices. And with still no clear end in sight, that's left drivers continuing to feel the pinch. Here's more on what this all means from Chief Economist at Signal 49 Research, Pedro Atuñez.
I think the good news is that core inflation, if you exclude gasoline prices, transportation costs, core inflation is still comfortable for the Bank of Canada. The problem is if this starts to build into, more broadly into other goods, especially the goods that are transported, those things that we import. But for now, I think we're going to see kind of 3% inflation until we either get gasoline and oil prices down or until we work our way through this.
All right, so where else are we seeing price increases? Prices for travel tours also rose at a faster pace in July, and prices for air travel rose some 12% year over year in July, and those were pushed higher by the increased cost of jet fuel.
Okay, Scott, so every month my husband and I call it our come to Jesus moment, where we go through all of our expenses. And every time I see the price go down the pump, I pull in and fill up. He goes, why are you filling up so often? It's like, because the price has gone down. So has there been anywhere that Canadians have seen prices slow down?
Where we've seen some relief actually is in the grocery aisle, but it is all relative. Basically, the overall food, the price of food didn't accelerate at the same pace as we've been used to for the past many months now. Inflation for food bought from the store cooled to 3.1% in July. That's down from 3.9% from the previous month, meaning the price increases for many items have slowed in July. But as I mentioned, it's all relative, considering food inflation for much of the past year and a half continues to outpace overall inflation. So what specifically does this mean for you and me buying groceries? When we get to the checkout counter, we saw slower price growth for fresh vegetables and fresh or frozen chicken, as well as actual lower prices for cereal products overall. But on the other hand, moderating the slowdown were higher prices for fresh fruit in July. That category is up more than 6% from last year.
CTV Scott Hurst, thanks for joining us, Scott, and happy shopping to you, my friend.
You as well. Thanks a lot.
Fire officials across the country are warning about the dangers posed by lithium-ion batteries.
They have been behind dozens of fires recently, including several here in Toronto. CTV's Adrian Gabriel reports.
Putting a dangerous charge into fires. Lithium batteries used to power electric bikes, e-scooters, and a long list of products are in part being blamed for powering infernos across the country. In Toronto alone this year, there's been roughly 80 fires linked to lithium-ion batteries.
That's an increase of 35%. That also includes 14 injuries and 2 fatalities.
The unsafe handling as well as cheap, unregulated batteries pouring into Canada are sparking concern, according to Toronto's fire chief.
You can go on eBay or any type of shopping online system right now and order batteries that we have no idea how they're tested. We have no idea what standard they meet.
Now, this is a lithium battery used by all of our camera crews. It has the markings that shows that it meets international standards as well as Canadian safety requirements. Now, following a lithium fire in the apartment building right behind me here in Toronto this week, area residents say that new laws are needed.
It shouldn't happen, but I mean, it's going to unless the government takes action and stops these bikes from being in apartments.
We've noted upwards of 10 additional e-bikes and mobile devices in that unit alone.
Transport Canada regulates the labeling and handling of lithium batteries, though Health Canada recently completed a public consultation. In an email to CTV News, a Health Canada spokesperson shares that there was broad support for the introduction of mandatory safety requirements. The Public Health Agency is now determining next steps to address the safety of lithium-ion batteries sold in Canada, including a possible regulatory proposal. In Ontario, the Office of the Fire Marshal oversees fire safety codes.
We need the federal government to come to the table, to work collaboratively with us, and we need the Fire Marshal's Office of Ontario to work with us to look at potential amendments to the fire code.
Following a fire on board a Toronto subway sparked by an e-bike's lithium battery, the micromobility devices are now banned from TTC property each winter when it's believed the batteries are even more volatile. Here in Toronto, the fire chief has called lithium batteries one of the greatest dangers to public safety until new regulations are rolled out. He believes that the potential danger will remain in place. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Toronto.
The latest U.S. tariff deadline just a couple of days away, but Canada has still yet to reach a deal with the Trump administration. CTV's Michael Serapio joins us live now from Ottawa with the latest on these ongoing trade talks. Michael, are we any closer to signing this trade deal? This is the week.
Yeah, this is the week, Michelle. You're absolutely right. And, you know, that's a good question. At this point, there has been some movement today. There was a meeting yesterday between Dominic LeBlanc, the minister responsible for Canada-U.S. trade, and his counterpart in the U.S., Jamieson Greer. And today, in about 30 minutes' time, actually closer to 40 minutes' time, Minister LeBlanc will be meeting with both Jamieson Greer and Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary in the United States. Now, this is going to happen at the Commerce Department. So this is the latest move that is happening today. And whether or not this signals a deal is a big question mark. You know, I reached out to a source of mine who essentially says to me that this may not be a deal that we're looking at. This may actually be them trying to figure out if there's anything to present to Donald Trump. Of course, the group had wanted to come up with a deal by today in order to head off the Wednesday tariffs. We'll see what happens out of that meeting. But what we can say, Michelle, is at this point, from all sources that we've been speaking to, both Canada and the United States remain very far apart in coming together with some type of resolution. Particularly troubling for Canada is they want the U.S. to address sectoral tariffs that have been applied to lumber, steel, aluminum, cars, and the U.S. is either moving a little, for example, with cars, or not at all when you talk about lumber. So still far away from the deal, according to the sources we've spoken to, but there is that meeting in about 40 minutes' time with the Commerce Secretary of the United States, Howard Lutnick.
Well, it is good that they're talking, but does Donald Trump even want a deal? What happens if a deal is not reached by Wednesday?
Yeah, and, you know, I'm going to get back to the Donald Trump part because you're absolutely right about that, Michelle. If a deal is not reached by Wednesday, that opens up a whole bunch of possibilities, one of which is Donald Trump is convinced that that talks have been productive and he delays imposing any tariffs to allow those talks to continue. Another possibility is that those 50% tariffs on $28 billion worth of Canadian exports are actually applied, at which point Canada will have to decide whether or not it wants to hit back and whether or not they want to actually escalate this trade war, given that Donald Trump is creating his own escalation with this tariff. But really, it's a deck of wild cards, and the wildest card here is Donald Trump. You asked the question, how much does he actually want a deal? We can't answer that, but we have been told by our sources that at the end of the day, Donald Trump's going to have to be happy with what has been happening at the negotiating table in order to hedge off these tariffs. So he will be the most important wild card in this whole calculation. Michelle.
CTV's Michael Serapio live for us in Ottawa. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is urging Ottawa to provide Canadians more relief at the pumps. The Liberals suspended the federal fuel excise tax earlier this year as a way to ease some of the price shocks caused by the ongoing war in the Middle East. At the time, Prime Minister Mark Carney indicated the suspension would last until Labor Day. Now Poilievre is calling for the break to be extended until next July, saying Canadians will be unable to afford a hike in gas prices next month.
In the Middle East, today is the deadline for the U.S. and Iran to reach a final deal intended to end their war. Both sides agreed in June on a memorandum of understanding that declared an immediate end to hostilities. But that unraveled quickly due to a dispute over control of the Strait of Hormuz. The MOU set out a 60-day time frame intended to give Washington and Tehran time to reach an agreement covering broader issues such as Iran's nuclear program. Meantime, U.S. envoy Jared Kushner wrapped up 2 days of meetings meetings with Israeli and Hamas leaders today. Donald Trump's son-in-law was attempting to break a stalemate over the U.S. president's plan for the Gaza Strip, but there were no signs of an imminent breakthrough as both sides dug in. The proposal stalled as Israel has carried out airstrikes and seized more territory in Gaza despite an October ceasefire, and Hamas has refused to give up its weapons.
In Indonesia, thousands are waiting for aid 2 days after a powerful earthquake killed at least 68 people. More than 200 others were injured in Saturday's quake. It left widespread damage with buildings collapsed onto parked cars, homes shattered, and trees and boulders blocking roads. More than 4,500 homes were damaged. 19,000 people were forced into temporary shelters. The governor there, as the earthquake struck, declared a 14-day state of emergency yesterday.
It's been said every dog has its day, and in Bolivia, it's St. Roch's Day. People honor the patron saint of dogs yesterday, bringing their pooches to a church to get their pets blessed. It was filled with worshipers and their dogs for Mass, where the priest read out names of the owners and their pets in attendance. According to tradition, the saint's life was saved by a dog that brought him food when he contracted the plague. Lindsay.
Well, if you're taking your dog for a walk this afternoon, just know that we do have a little bit of heat and humidity out there. In fact, later this afternoon, it is going to feel into the low 30s in most places. Here's a look at today's highs. 28 for us here in Toronto, feeling more like 33. Similar humidex value around Niagara Falls. Not quite as hot or muggy in Hamilton, but close to it. A look at the almanac, Trenton and Hamilton, the hot spots in the province. So far, our seasonal norm is now about 25 degrees. Do want to point that out. So on average, we are starting to see our temperatures cool a little bit as we make our way through the month of August. Here's your evening sports forecast. It looks good. Tomorrow looks like a nice day too. We'll talk about that and the possibility of wet weather by Wednesday after the break here on CTV News at noon.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
A restricted fire zone is now in effect in parts of northern Ontario because of increased wildfire activity and extreme fire hazards. The measure has been implemented in the northwest region and a small area of the northeast region. It will remain in place until further notice. Now, the latest information from the Ministry of Natural Resources shows 84 active blazes in the northwest region as of 6 o'clock last night. 7 of them were out of control, but there were no new wildfires there. In the northwest, 2 new blazes were confirmed as of 6:15 p.m. Sunday. 1 has been extinguished. The other is under control. There were 45 active wildfires in total in the region. 1 of them was out of control. In BC, the Bald Range wildfire west of Okanagan Lake is still out of control. The blaze is listed today at 212 square kilometers. Still, more evacuees are being allowed to return home to Summerland. More than 20,000 residents had to leave over a week ago after the blaze exploded virtually overnight. But those near Okanagan Lake are still being told to be ready to leave at a moment's notice if the fire danger shifts.
When you see the fire activity in this country, it's been a tough summer. You think rain would do a lot of good, at least here in Toronto right now, not starting off with rain.
Yeah, absolutely. The lawn could use it. I think I think sometimes I think it's rained because, overnight you see a little bit of rain, but not enough to really help the lawn. So, for all those people that, this is nothing to complain about, really considering what everybody else is going through.
Exactly. We've been quite lucky here in southern Ontario. It's interesting because parts of Alberta have had an extremely wet summer, and then you only have to travel to BC where it has been drought-like conditions in so many areas. So yes, lots of varying weather stories happening across our country and internationally too. Let's get to your forecast. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. And I say internationally because I want to start off by taking you to Hawaii, specifically the Big Island, which was hit by a hurricane over the weekend. Hurricane Lala. It was not a direct landfall, but certainly was enough to trigger flooding, about 3 feet of rainfall falling in just a short period of time. And now Lala is moving away from Hawaii. However, it is a tropical storm right now and is expected to re-strengthen into a hurricane. Fortunately, unfortunately, it is veering away from populated areas. So that's some good news there. Just wanted to bring you up to speed here at home in southern Ontario. We had a little bit of rain over the weekend. Andrea mentioned the rain on Friday in places too. But I think overall we escaped yesterday without too many plans being impacted by any wet weather. And while we did have a few showers overnight, those two have moved out, and we expect a pretty dry rest of the day here in the lower Great Lakes. Tomorrow going to be sunny and dry as well. It's Wednesday where we have our next best chance of perhaps some measurable rainfall. Here's the forecast radar. Simply setting this in motion because, again, Tuesday's quiet. Might see a couple of showers creep in late day Tuesday and overnight into Wednesday. Likely an unsettled start to your day on Wednesday. The morning drive could be impacted by some rain, and then that too is going to clear out for the afternoon and evening. By the time we reach Thursday, we are back into sunshine. Temperature-wise, as mentioned, bit of humidity today. It's going to feel into the 30s. It already does in Kingston, for example. And then overnight tonight, we are seasonal once again. Northwest breeze, very light, but keeping us not feeling too uncomfortable out there. A clear sky expected too, although once we move past midnight, it's likely that we could see a little bit of patchy fog develop, and that could continue into your Tuesday morning, but by the afternoon, wall-to-wall sunshine, a few fair weather clouds in the mix. 27 degrees will feel more like 30. I think this is a pretty nice summer day for those who are starting to feel like the season's slipping away. Enjoy tomorrow. Temperature-wise, 26 degrees tomorrow in the city of Guelph, 27 in places like Welland as well as Aurora and in Burlington. You will find a mix of sun and cloud tomorrow in Huntsville and mainly sunny skies in both Uxbridge and Trenton. Your 7-day forecast. Let's talk about the week ahead. Again, Wednesday does bring us our most unsettled chances for the work week anyway. Daytime highs remain pretty consistently near normal. Lots of sunshine for both Thursday and Friday at this point. Keeping an eye on the weekend for possible showers creeping back in. And while I did say that temperatures remain pretty normal, it looks as though we could see a little drop, so suddenly being below seasonal as we wrap up next weekend. That's the weather for now. Andrea, I'm going to send it over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. The Blue Jays have the day off today after wrapping up a weekend series with the New York Yankees yesterday afternoon.
Well hit ball, deep right field, and it's going to go. Ben Rice with a long two-run homer.
Yeah, the Jays were trying to sweep the Yankees out of town, but ended up losing to New York 4-3 in 10 innings. Toronto is currently 1 game back of the final playoff spot in the American League. The team is heading to Florida to begin a series with the Tampa Bay Rays tomorrow.
Still to come on CTV News at noon, scientists have used artificial intelligence to create a new virus not seen in nature. What's that about? We'll have the details when we come back.
Okay, I may be wrong, but this sounds like the beginning of the end. Scientists at Stanford have used artificial intelligence to create a new virus unlike anything ever seen in nature.
To find out more, we're joined by CTV science and tech specialist Dan Riskin. Dan, okay, this is terrifying, like Andrea said.
Yeah.
And you wonder, why are we having AI do these sorts of things, create these types of viruses we haven't seen before? But there's a breakthrough here.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it is scary, but it also is a great advance in the fight against antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Antibiotic-resistant bacteria are a massive problem worldwide, and they're getting worse. And more infections can't be treated with antibiotics because resistance just keeps evolving, and we're playing this game that we're ultimately going to lose. We need new tools to fight bacteria. That's why they went to this tool. And so what they do is they go to AI and they say, hey, would you make up a virus? And it's very interesting the way that it works because, you know, when you use ChatGPT, the way that works is it's read a whole bunch of English literature, and then you say to it, can you make up a poem about giraffes? And it can. And so here, this is a different model that's looked at a whole bunch of DNA sequences from a whole bunch of different organisms, and you say to it, hey, can you make up a virus? And it can do that kind of the same way, just make something up. but it works just like that poem does that you use ChatGPT for. And so it's created this new virus. It's totally different from anything in nature, and it works on bacteria. It does not do anything to humans. It's designed to be a virus that only kills bacteria. So for now, this is a great tool, and nothing could possibly go wrong. Right? I mean, that's what's so scary about this, is that by giving a different model sort of the same sorts of instructions, you could say, can you create a virus that works on humans? And there's nothing to prevent that from happening. So we need legislation, we need rules, we need to have some big conversations, because it's a very scary tool, but it's a great one for this application.
Real quick, is this virus actually created in a lab, or is it just a model?
No, it's the real deal. They made it, and they put it into a cell of bacteria. The bacteria got infected by the virus, and then it made a whole bunch more copies. And actually, they have 16 different ones that they made. They tried several hundred that were invented by the AI, and they have 16 that work, and they killed the bacteria. So this is great news if you've got a bacterial infection, or for treating people in far-flung parts of the world where these antibiotic-resistant infections can be, life or death. But it's also just a little bit scary trying to think ahead to where this ends up.
Okay, now, speaking of AI, many people have argued that one promising application for chatbots is to help people fight loneliness, but a new study shows that can backfire. Can you explain that?
It's out of France, 12,000 people. Half of them were asked to talk to a chatbot for at least a certain amount of time every single day for 28 days. The other group didn't have to do that. Which group is more lonely at the end of it? It's the group that talked to the chatbots. And the reason is because they also, as a result of that, spent less time with people. They ended up eating alone more frequently, and they ended up spending less time with family members and friends. And so the thinking is people that are going out of their way to spend more time with these chatbots just end up spending less time with people, and that's what's having a negative impact.
Oh, well, we have time for this last little one, and it is about spending time together. Couples who work out together. Science is saying this is a good thing.
Yeah, it's great. They end up happier. They end up feeling better about the relationship, and it's better for them overall. And it goes beyond just the effects of exercise on its own. And so if you're in a couple or if you're in a relationship, getting exercise together, even a brisk walk counts. It's going to make you feel better about the relationship. It's going to make you happier, and it's better than sitting around watching Netflix all the time.
I see, especially after dinner, you see a lot of people going for a walk after dinner, a lot of couples going for a walk after dinner. So this is a really good thing then. It's not just the exercise that they're getting, but it probably helps their relationship.
It's that connection that happens. Maybe it's just because your brain's in a different gear while you're doing that. But in my own experience, I can say that just going for a walk with my wife, you definitely just have a different feeling at the end of it than if you just watch something together or just sitting around just kind of getting the dishes done sort of thing.
You know what? My parents, they go for their walk, and they've been married. I've lost count, but I'm thinking decades.
Thinking, how old are you in the next couple years?
Yeah, so this is proof.
Yeah. It's nice when science backs up what you think is true anyway. It's nice when you're proven right.
Thank you, Dan, and great to have you with us.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't go away. Still to come, in the entertainment world is mourning the death of Hayden Panettiere. We'll have those details when we come back.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
The entertainment world is mourning the death of Hayden Panettiere, best known for her roles in Heroes and Nashville. Panettiere's father announced her death in a statement last night, but did not reveal a cause. She began her career in 1996 with roles in A Bug's Life and Remember the Titans. She rose to prominence with her role as cheerleader Claire Bennett in Heroes.
For me, when I look back at the performances, I think of Claire Bennett in the show Heroes, and what made that character so interesting and so great and made her a very big star was that it was a mix of teen normalcy, just someone who seemed like they could be a teen that you would know on the street, but she had a quiet toughness, and there was a real emotional depth beneath this superhero surface that she had.
In recent years, Panettiere was open about her struggles with substance abuse and postpartum depression. Hayden Panettiere was 36 years old.
Opening arguments are expected today in the trial of the man accused of killing iconic rapper Tupac Shakur.
We're on record in State versus Davis, C377.
Prosecutors say former alleged gang member Dwayne Keefe D. Davis orchestrated the Las Vegas shooting death of Shakur in '96. Davis is charged with a single count of first-degree murder with a deadly weapon. He has pleaded not guilty and faces a possible life sentence without parole if convicted. A viral video shows what looks like an incident on a Montreal zip line has turned out to be nothing of the sort, but the fallout is real.
The company behind the ride says it had no choice but to pay the influencer hundreds of dollars in order to take down the misleading video. Now they're taking legal action. CTV's Sweet Arasi has more.
Going down is easy, but climbing back up is the new challenge at this zipline attraction in Montreal's Old Port. That's exactly what an employee was testing out when a content creator from Halifax caught it on camera.
I said, babe, you know what? See, look, that guy got stuck. Oh, God. And then I said, my first thing was, obviously, I'm a social media guy. So, you know, everything I see, my eyes, anything interesting, I open up my camera, I start recording. Lovepreet Singh posted that video online and called it an incident. It went viral and garnered 1 million views in just 24 hours. But when the president of the company, Samuel Kadat, saw the post, he was shocked.
And we could see so many different comments of saying, I'm never doing this again.
So he asked Singh to take it down, or at the very least, change it to let viewers know there was no incident to begin with. But for the content creator, the video was making him money. So to remove it would cost Kadat.
My social media is my source of income.
So Kadat paid.
And to strike a deal, we had no choice.
They agreed on a $300 deal, and Singh took down the original video. He posted another one clarifying there was no incident to begin with.
It was not an incident, guys. Yes, the owner himself reached out to me.
One social media expert says it points to a bigger problem with how platforms reward content.
The algorithms don't care about the false information or misinformation at all. They only care about how long people are watching the video, how many people are sharing, liking, commenting.
The timing of the video made things worse. Kadat says the summer season is when his business earns most of its yearly revenue. Kadat has filed a police report and hired a lawyer.
And if people get the ideas of manipulating businesses, again, that people work so hard to build, well, I don't think it's a good idea.
But Singh insists he did nothing wrong.
This is not extortion. This is my business. I never said do not go to that zip line because that zip line had an incident.
Kadat hopes this incident serves as a lesson that influence comes with accountability. Sweet Arasi, CTV News.
Coming up, a thrilling finish to the first ever Ontario Honda Dealers Indy in Markham. We'll have more on the weekend's big race when we come back. It was a thrilling finish this weekend to the first ever Ontario Honda Dealers Indy in Markham.
CTV's John Woodward was there and managed to speak with the race winner before and after he crossed the finish line.
The Indy drivers running a gauntlet of fans, offering them high fives and signatures, including on young Jackson.
Oh, you guys signed for the first time.
PK signed his back for a signature.
Who'd you get to sign your hat? I got a few people. I got McLaughlin, I got Dixon, I got Erickson.
Swedish driver Marcus Ericsson, a previous winner of the Indy 500 in 2022, who stopped to tell us the new Markham track is an exciting challenge.
It's great. The track is really, really fun, very challenging. It's going to be a really good race, I think, a lot of action. So.
The new track almost a year in the making after the event moved from Toronto, where it had been held since the 80s. After delays in preparing the track on Friday, races on Saturday and Sunday went ahead, said Markham Mayor Frank Scarpitti.
Well, we started our engines over a year ago here in the city of Markham, getting ready for this race.
At this time, we ask all drivers report to your cars.
Scarpitti, as the Grand Marshal, was given the chance to make the iconic call.
Drivers, start your engines!
And the drivers were off, those in Ericsson's pit crew watching closely.
None of these cars go anywhere without a pit crew. This is pit lane. This is where a team of mechanics and technicians service these cars, often in just a matter of seconds.
There were 4 or 5 teams here last night till almost midnight, and we were one of them.
Ericsson's pit coach, Chris Snyder, prepping his crew for something new.
New track, there's just a lot of variables up in there. You don't know how this thing's going to flow.
Towards the end of the 90-lap race, it was Ericsson who slipped into the lead, the others trailing, and then
Ericsson wins on the streets of Markham.
The affable Swede talking about Markham's new track in the press conference after the race.
I love the track from the first lap. It's a tricky challenge as well because it's very easy. You get a little bit wrong, and there's no margin for error.
As Markham's first Indy crosses the finish line. John Woodward, CTV News, Markham.
Congratulations to him.
Absolutely, and it was a great weekend after all. Start off a little rough, but you did the breakfast.
Yes, the mayor's breakfast on Saturday morning, so that was wonderful. Congratulations to Markham on a job well done, especially into Sunday. I'm happy to see that the rain held off because I know that was one of the events that we were a little concerned about with the possibility of showers, but all was good. And today we don't have to worry about rain really in the slightest. It's going to be a beautiful afternoon. Another look at the satellite and radar. This does show that the active weather we experienced in some places this morning has moved on out over Lake Ontario right now into parts of the United States, and the clouds are clearing as well. We're expecting varying amounts of sun and cloud today, along with a bit of heat and humidity, but it's seasonable overnight tonight, nice and comfortable for sleeping with a low of 16 degrees. It's a partly cloudy sky, but it is worth mentioning a little bit of patchy fog could form after midnight and then carry into tomorrow morning. By tomorrow afternoon, though, 27 degrees is going to feel more like 30. It's a mainly sunny day. Winds changing direction. They'll be coming out of the southwest this time. Just enough of a light breeze. I'm keeping my eye on that sunset time. Look at that. It's creeping forward about 8:16 p.m. tomorrow. Your 7-day forecast looks like this. At least we will have lots of sunshine tomorrow, Thursday and Friday. We're going to watch Wednesday for some periods of wet weather, and then keeping an eye on the weekend for that possibility as well. Andrea and Michelle.
Thanks, Lindsay. Well, that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and on our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle today.
And I'm Andrea Case. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6.